This is a Stihl FX 56RC string trimmer that my son traded for. We don't know anything about it. The previous owner didn't know anything about it. We're going to find out if it's worth the trade or if it's someone else's trash. Let's get into it. After he got this, when he traded for it, the previous owner claimed he didn't know anything about it, but he did say that it ran. I'm not sure if they started it when they traded or not. But a real common problem on these is the spark arrestor. If someone decides that it's not in the account anymore, they usually think that it's lost power and got a bad engine, but a lot of times it could be the spark arrestor plugged up. Because when people trim with these, I guess Stihl intends for you to hold it completely, the throttle wide open. And a lot of people don't do that. They feather the throttle, and that makes it doesn't burn the oil off of the piston as it's going through the engine, and it causes the spark arrestor to plug up, and it bogs the engine out, doesn't have any power. And a lot of people will get rid of them because of that, because they think they've lost their engine. The only thing I can see visibly wrong, nothing's broken, all the parts are here, it's nasty. Someone's either taken the shield off of it or it's just missing. It's been broken off. But looks like it's got a real good trimmer head on it. The button's still good on the bottom. There's no cracks. The handle's still in good shape. Just other than being just filthy, it looks like it might be a pretty good piece. I'm going to strip some of these covers off here and we'll take a look at it. Well, there's the filter. It looks like a pig's butt. Somebody's not taking very good care of this thing at all. It's got some more numbers down in there. It does say US though. I believe all these Stihls are made in the United States. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But anything made in the US, I'm convinced is far superior if you can afford it. But let's get on into it and see what else we can find. Now it's obvious you don't have to take a machine this far apart to get the spark arrestor out. You can actually take it out of the back without even taking the exhaust or anything off. But this head, I was afraid there was so much filth inside of it that the head, the cooling fins on the head was going to be plugged. And actually they're not that bad. I've used a wire brush a little bit on it, and I think I'm going to use a little bit of brake parts cleaner and clean the outside of this housing off before I put it back together. Now, one thing to remember, if you do tear one down this far, that there are fine thread bolts that goes into the aluminium, and then there's the coarse thread bolts that goes into the plastic. So the four center and the bottom, they go into the metal, and I think there's some here that goes into the metal. Maybe not. Yeah, there's some there that goes into the middle. So you got to make sure you use the right thread bolts for the right places. Where it goes plastic to plastic, they're coarse thread. So, but you don't have to. If you just want to check your spark arrestor, which I've got the spark arrestor out, it's a little bit damaged, but it's really not that dirty. But I've taken these out before and they'll be completely plugged, and that's the biggest complaint people have, that their machine's just lost all of its power, won't run. They think it's a carburetor problem. They start adjusting the carburetor, and then it's a rabbit hole. They've messed it up to the point where they can't get it to run at all. They bring it to you. All they would have had to have done would be cleaned or changed this spark arrestor out that goes right here in your exhaust. That causes a lot of people a lot of grief, and it has to be there because it supposedly keeps sparks from flying out and setting your yard on fire or whatever you're trimming. So it's really kind of a necessity. Now I looked at the number on this thing, and the patent on it said it complies with 2020 California emission standards. So it's probably later than a 2015 model. I still ain't found the date on it. But it's a fairly new model year, and everything's good. The pawls are good inside of your crank. It's a little bit rusty where it looks like somebody's left it outside a lot. You find that a lot on these where people leave them on their trailers. And of course this is beat up right here like it's been in the back of somebody's truck. But on the inside, the teeth on it are nearly perfect. They're not worn at all. It's just dirty. Everything's dirty. I thought it had a bad head gasket because there was oil everywhere, but it looks like to me they just spilled oil whenever they were filling it, and it's just picked up dust and debris. I can't see anywhere that it might have been blowing out. Even the exhaust was in good shape. Doesn't look like it'd been coming out here at all. So I cleaned it up and put it back together. Looks like it's gonna get too dark for me to try it out, but we might stand in the doorway here and try it just to get it running. I don't believe I've had this machine running at all, but I'm going to put a little bit of work cleaning it up. It should be a good machine. Stihls are fantastic. And I said 556 a while ago, but it says FS56RC, so I give you the wrong number in the beginning. But I want to brush it off, maybe blow it out with a little bit of compressed air and some brake parts cleaner, and we'll come back. I got that cleaned up a little bit, got the fins clean. Now, I took this completely apart, but you don't have to do that. If you want to change this spark arrestor, it's just that one screw, and I believe you can get to it from the outside without having to take any of this apart. But I just wanted to clean this up because it was so nasty inside. I got a lot of the grease off the primer bulb. Primer bulb's still good. It's not a very old machine. I just think it's been mistreated. I'm going to clean this other cover up with the tub towels. If you don't have these in your shop, you need to order some today. Well, these things are they're magical. I'm not sponsored, but you can, all this black stuff, I'll get most of it off with this tub of towel stuff. I won't even have to use no parts cleaner and stink the garage up. But it's taken most of the dirt off of this that I could reach with it. I'll clean it up and throw it back together. Got most of the junk off the case and got all the crud off of the stick. Got that put back together. Now I'm going to clean this crank and stuff. See if I can get all that greasy crud off of that. All I've been using, I used a little bit of scratch pad on the stick and that little brush there, detail brush and a wire brush on the bottom, on the base to get all that crud off. And then we'll go over this and see what it looks like. Now it's put back together and cleaned up. Looks way different than it did in the beginning. Got all the bolts in it. I think it was missing one down here in the handle. And now you can see all your adjustments, your low idle and your high idle. I don't know what the bottom one is. And then it's got your choke, off choke, half choke, and full choke. You can see all that. You couldn't see that before. And then of course the lid you can read. It says gas plus oil, which should tell you that this is a mixed machine. And got the orange, back to orange again. It's a little scratched up on the bottom, but it looks pretty good. I'd said once before that you could get to that spark arrestor. I don't believe you can. I think you have to take this back cover off, but then you should be able to get to it. But it's just 3 screws. But I think you can get a master kit for this that has a plug, a filter. It might even have a spark arrestor in it, but it's got all the tune-up stuff that you need. But why go through the trouble when I don't even know if it's going to run? Because I'm pretty sure, as new as it is, it's a fairly new machine. It's probably less than 2 years old. It's going to run just fine. And I probably need to get a guard for it, but I don't ever run them with guards. Now I need to see if it's going to start. If you want to put the choke on these, you have to actually push it in. Push it in, flip it all the way up. And then prime it. Give it about 8 pushes on the bulb. Set it on choke. It should fire. We'll have to take it off the table. chokes off. Sound good sitting there on the table, but it sounds just like it's supposed to. It's vibrating on the table. Now, I love these gas trimmers, and especially Stihl, and I think I've got another brand over there that's similar to Stihl. Echo, they're very similar. Echo may be made offshore. This Milwaukee's definitely made in China, along with its batteries. But this Stihl, it runs on gasoline oil. And, excuse me, California is banning their little gas engines for any type of lawn care. You won't be able to use a string trimmer, gas mower, anything. They're going to ban it outright. You'll have to use an electric or cordless battery-powered trimmer or mower or whatever. They're just banning it outright. You're not going to be able to even use any type of, look at this millions and or billions of dollars worth of gas equipment in California that's just going to be thrown away and wasted, like they had to do with the trucking industry. Those trucks had to be sold overseas or moved somewhere else all over. People that everybody that drives a truck winds up in California at some point, so they have to have a California emissions ready truck or a big semi. But doing away with the gas, I think we're doing this prematurely, because we don't. If this came with a solar station that you could set up outside that would charge all of your batteries, it might get back a few barrels of crude. But I just can't see right now as this being beneficial. I use this trimmer. It runs about 20 minutes on a, what have I got? A 9 ampere battery. It might run 25 minutes. But the good thing about this cordless trimmer is I can feather the throttle and it doesn't affect the fuel consumption or the oil burning or screens. But there are some drawbacks to this. You still got to plug this up and charge it. I live in an area that uses coal primarily. I'm in Kentucky. That's our biggest source of energy. So to charge this battery for 4 hours, we're burning 4 hours worth of coal somewhere at a power plant to send the energy to my house. Even at off-peak times, I'm consuming a lot of energy. Where you take this, for example, you take the petroleum that's made for the plastic, the petroleum that you'll use over a lifetime, and the oil that you use to mix it over a lifetime, and the metals. The block of this thing is aluminium. Of course, it takes electricity to refine an aluminium to make aluminum. It's an alloy. But over the lifetime of this machine and mowing with it for years, these things last for years. You could probably get a decade out of one of these machines if you take care of it. You're probably going to use no more than 10 barrels of crude oil in a lifetime, as far as petroleum products go. And you're not burning any coal to do it. You're going to use a little bit of crude over the lifetime of this gas-powered machine. You come over here to this China-made machine. Of course, it's Milwaukee. It's an American brand, but it is made in China. This battery contains lithium and all kinds of other precious minerals. Right there, just getting the minerals for this battery, you've probably burned 10, 15 barrels of crude, of oil. You've used that much oil on the environment just to make this one battery. And if I make this machine last 10 years, I may use 2 to 3 batteries. I need at least 2 to swap out to mow with, because I have more than 20 minutes of mowing. So you think I've got 2 of these batteries. The plastics, of course, are made of petroleum products, all the plastics in it. With this lithium and stuff, well, that's red lithium. I don't know what that means, if it's a precious mineral, if it's expensive. You got aluminium in it too. But taking California and putting this in the hands of a person and taking that away from them, you've already used more crude oil just for this battery than you did the lifetime of this machine will ever use in its entire life. I'm just guessing, but think about it. There's somebody out there going to science this and find out that I'm as close as I could possibly be. And that's just for this one battery. Whatever it's going to take for the lifetime of that in natural resources, you're going to use just manufacturing this one battery, because it takes tons and tons and tons of ore to get the metals that you're going to have to put in one of these batteries, not counting the copper and the wine. These copper mines all over the world they're still using, it's not, a lot of it's coming from other countries, they're still using very inefficient diesel equipment that doesn't have any type of smog on it. They're just pouring pollution right into the atmosphere. Look at the carbon footprint that you're going to have. And not to mention, I've got to charge this. I'm going to be burning coal energy to charge this. I don't have any type of solar here. Even if I did have solar, the material that you're going to have to make those solar panels is going to put even more carbon into the atmosphere. So they don't outweigh each other yet. Your smallest footprint is still going to be this little gasoline engine, even though it pukes out a little bit of smoke. But these are clean burn. It already meets California's 2020 emission standards. And if you put the right oil and gasoline in it, which these things hate, that corn gasoline that everybody's using, that even the modern stuff that they make doesn't like to run on that gasoline because it turns into water. It ruins your carburetors, it ruins your system. So you got to go buy special, either the canned gas at the store, or you've got to buy the $5-6 a gallon non-ethanol gasoline. That's what you should run in all your power equipment, I recommend. Don't use service station gas unless you're planning on running it out that day. You got to use the ethanol free, because these machines don't like it. My old car over there doesn't like it. You just don't want to use it. I know I've ran it for a while, but if you just do just the tiniest bit of research, you'll find out that right now we're not ready to go completely battery powered on our power equipment. I don't make a dime off of promoting that, or I do this, because I've done a tool review on that, and I haven't done a review on this. This is used. We picked it up. Probably got it in for a trade for almost nothing. But it's because it's such a quality made American product, it still runs, and it'll keep right on running as long as you take care of it and maintain it. It hasn't been maintained very well, but it still shows you how tough that machine is. This machine, if I use it, every time I mow the grass, I'll probably go through, over a 10-year cycle compared to that one, I'll probably go through 4 or 5 batteries. I do have some Milwaukee batteries that are 10 years old, but they don't stay charged very long. They run down pretty fast. Then you got to get rid of it. Somewhere you got to take it and dispose of it. That's going to put even more carbon into the atmosphere, because somebody somewhere is going to have to process this. This thing will, once it's done with its life, it'll probably go to someone that repairs these, and they'll salvage it for parts, and it'll give life to even more machines. So it's not hurting anything. These, when they're done, are just done. They're junk. I like it to mow with. It's easy. It's no lighter. With this big battery on there and this motor in it, it might be a couple pounds lighter, but if you use it all day, it's going to have the same result. This machine's not very heavy at all. You can pick it up with one hand. This machine without the battery, it's really heavy on the bottom end. It's twice as heavy on that end. And that's not where the motor is, I don't think. The motor's up here. But it is twice as heavy on that far end. It could be because of that big plastic flap, I don't know. But that's my rant for today. And I just want to show that this old equipment can still be useful, and it can still be safe and friendly. If you mix it right, you're not going to do that much pollution. You're actually saving the environment by using this old equipment as opposed to manufacturing a new one of these every year. You really are helping the environment by properly maintaining your gasoline equipment and using it properly. And everybody knows that. You shouldn't be told any different. This is not political. I'm not basing this on any political science. This is just based on just facts. And I do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for hanging out. Any questions or comments are appreciated. If you know something that I don't about what I've just talked about on these two machines, please let me know. But the whole point of this video was to talk about that spark arrestor on this machine and how easy, even though you don't have to take it completely apart and clean it like I did, you can change that spark arrestor and get a lot more power out of your machine. It's easier to start, and you're not snuffing your machine down with a stocked up spark arrestor. Well, that's a lot of S's in one sentence. I do appreciate you guys for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And everybody stay clean.